Yeah, you've read the title, it's a multiplayer game, we all know you're very smart. But
consider the phone.
I tell you what, if there's one right I have as a God-fearing American patriot, it's to bitch. Also, there's a single-player button, so checkmate lib. Repo! The only game that lets you fulfill your duty as a speedrunning radical left to conduct post-birth abortions the way God intended. Oh fuck. There's nothing I love more than tax-manning it in the proximity VC with the squad. But sometimes your friends have better things to do, like driving a milk truck, or delivering milk, or milking cows. Whatever people with jobs do. And when that moment strikes when you're way too socially awkward to play in public lobbies, you have to play single player. No problem, I'm already used to doing all the work. But there actually is one tiny problem, or rather a lot of tiny to medium-sized problems. Let's kick things off with the point that inspired this video. After a long, hard shift, there's nothing better than kicking up your stubby little legs at the shop and scarfing down the coolest cereal boxes on the shelf when... that. There are 2 upgrades in the shop that are straight up useless in single player. I'm pretty sure you can't even use the death head before the game cuts away after you die. And no, I don't hate myself enough to do a run just to get footage of me testing that. At least with the math upgrade? At least with the map upgrade, once you pick it up, it's gone. So at the very least, once you buy it once, it frees up a slot for an actually useful upgrade. Theoretically. I mean, it could just be one less upgrade. Now, of course, the easiest fix is to just remove these upgrades from circulation. That said, on this channel, I try to be constructive, and as part of that, here's some ideas for single-player exclusive upgrades that could replace them. I tried to consider what the death head battery mechanic is intended for. Well, beyond just giving your teammates shit while they do a better job than you. It's used for helping to find your dead body, and to give warnings. From a balance perspective, it's throwing you a bone when the chips are down, and so are you, Gem. Why are you dying all the fucking time? So this does something similar without activating upon your death. What would normally be your team's collective health bar is now just you, so this would emulate a scenario where the rest of your team is dead. And believe me, I know all about that. I have a confession to make. I am an absolute glutton for the map player count upgrade. I reach for that shit every session like a Genshin Impact player does for anything not hygiene related. So when coming up with this upgrade, I wanted it to provide a similar function to the map player count upgrade, providing extra information that guides your risk assessment. To be honest, it's not quite as useful as the player count is, but it can provide an extra tool in seeing when new monsters spawn or despawn, and help you plan your approach to the final extraction outside of just having your least favorite teammate sacrifice themselves in the name of the IRS. When you're out and about doing the solo sauce, the proximity chat mechanic is disabled. And so is the regular chat. It makes sense, but it also creates kind of a problem. Because that's like the huntsman's whole deal. I appreciate the ability to hide on tables, and his more unique pathing makes him distinct from most of the other run and hide monsters. But if you can't talk, then the only thing that will make him shoot is if you drop something, or if you run, he'll hear the sound of your tootsies. Don't get me wrong, there are a few other monsters that feel a little bit less unique or fun in single player, but nothing to this degree. So, my suggestion is to make him sensitive to sounds other monsters can't even hear, namely using your map. If you can't tell from this background footage, I glance at the map a lot. And it does have a sound effect, but doesn't affect monsters as far as I can tell. So why not make the huntsman able to hear you open it? It forces you to have a better sense of direction, and I think it would be legitimately scary since it effectively removes your most consistent tool. Look, I appreciate a decent challenge, but sometimes it all becomes a bit too much. You can argue that having much less margin for error is a fair price to pay for getting to hoard upgrades, but considering how heavily the deck is stacked against you in single player, it makes sense to me that there is at least an option for an easier mode, almost like an arcade mode. If you die to a tick for the 1000th time, I swear to God I will curb stop that infuriating little shit stain! Then you go to the shop before the next level. You keep everything you've already extracted, but anything left over in the level, including the money bag, is forfeit. But on the bright side, maybe you recover more lives from either purchasing them in the shop, at a price around 50 to 100k, or getting one back when the moon phase advances, but definitely not both. God, I fucking hate this thing. Now then, let's close things out on a lightning round. These are quality of life ideas and things I couldn't find enough to say about to fit into their own category. Trust me, this will be very quick, and you know, why don't I throw some Subway Surfers in the corner while we're at it, you attention span rotted child? Decrease the time between loom attacks. It only ever goes for one person, so dealing with it is significantly more tedious than it would be normally. Move the upgrades in the ceiling compartment to the main shop. Getting up there is impossible early game unless an anti-grav orb or feather drone is on the shelves, which is entirely random. Make it so that hitting escape actually pauses the game. This makes sense for a multiplayer game, but if you're playing offline, there's no point. Remove heavy objects from the first two levels. Dragging shit all the way across the map is getting old. Give the player time to scoop up strength upgrades and lower the cost of the first one. Replace heavy objects with additional smaller ones of similar collective value. Additionally, make sure objects aren't put up on very high shelves in early levels. Other people can't carry you up, so some of these areas are impossible to get to early game. Give the game over screen more dedicated love instead of just recycling the multiplayer one without the arena. Alright, that's everything. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go be a childless cat lady in peace. Oh, what the fuck?